Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to show you how to install CentOS 7 on VirtualBox. So first, I assume that you already have installed VirtualBox. If you haven't, you can download it from http://virtualbox.org and then click the download VirtualBox 6.1. If you are using Windows, you can click on Windows host. If you use Mac, you can use OS X, and if you're using Linux, you can download the Linux distribution. And just download the file, double click on it, and just follow the instructions. Should be pretty easy to install VirtualBox. Alright, so let's assume that we already have VirtualBox running. Here, I open VirtualBox. Notice that I already have one virtual machine, Windows 10. But this time I'm going to show you how we are going to install CentOS. So for that, we need to create a new virtual machine. So you can see the new button here. Click on there, right? And it's going to be Linux. CentOS 7 is Linux and is based on Red Hat. Okay, so we want to pick Red Hat 64-bit there, and we want to name this CentOS 7. All right, and then we click next. We need to specify how much memory, how much RAM we are going to give it to this virtual machine. We'll probably be okay with 2 gig of RAM. 4 will be good, depending on how much RAM you have. I have gigabyte of RAM on my laptop, so therefore I could go to 4. If you only have 4 gig of RAM, you probably want to choose 2. Okay. In this case, I'm choosing 4. And now we need to create a hard disk for our virtual machine. So we want to create a virtual hard disk. Okay, so we pick the middle one and click create, and then we want to the first option, okay, VirtualBox disk image, and then we want to allow it to dynamically allocate it. That means that it's only going to use as much memory as it needs. If it needs more memory, it will automatically increase the size of the disk. So here we can say 10. Okay, I'm going to do the 10 gig of RAM, gig of space. So because we're using dynamic allocated memory, if it doesn't need to use 10 gigabyte of memory, it's only going to use that much memory, right? So click create. So now we have a machine which we can install Linux CentOS on it. Alright, so before we can install, we need the CD or the DVD image that has the CentOS installation. So I already downloaded one. If you haven't downloaded, this is what you will do. You will go to CentOS download. You can search for it, right? And then you can click on download CentOS.org. And here you have the options. This is version. This is 8, 7. Since the book uses CentOS 7, we're going to stick to 7. So you want to click on 7 2003, and you want to download x86-64. Yes, that's the one we want to download. And it will give you a link, a bunch of links. We want to pick the first one, okay, the one that's presented to us. And we want to pick this one, the CentOS 64 DVD 2003 ISO. Okay, so you just click on it, and you're gonna save it, and it's gonna save it to the download folder. Okay, so since I already downloaded, I don't need to do this, so I'm gonna cancel. Now let's go back to our VirtualBox. We already created the virtual machine. Now we need to mount the CentOS DVD to our machine. So I'm gonna click on setting. Okay, so I select the machine that I want to change, and I click on setting, and then I'm going to go to storage, and then in Control IDE, there's you can see there's a DVD or a disk here. It's empty. We click on there, and then we click on the disk on the right, and then we choose a disk. Okay, so if you click on it, it's going to give you two options. Here I'm going to choose a disk file, and then I'm going to go to my download, and you can see a bunch of files I download. Okay, so we want to pick the one that we download, which is the DVD. I also download everything, but we don't need that one, so just the DVD is fine. So click open. Okay, so that's fine. We click OK, and now we can actually start our machine. Click on start. Okay, so now our machine is running. That's fine. Okay. Right. So we want to go quicker. So I want to pick the first item, the first option, install CentOS 7, so that we doesn't have to run the test. Okay. So now you can see it's booting into the Linux that's on this DVD, the DVD image that we downloaded. Okay, first screen is going to let us pick the language. So English, United States, that's fine. And so we click on continue. Well, when you click on the inside the screen, it's going to capture a mouse. Okay, so when you capture a mouse stays within the what's called the guest operating systems. In this case, it's CentOS. And we can now move the mouse outside. To move the mouse outside, to get to regain control of the mouse again, we want to click the right control button key. Okay, so right control key is gonna reclaim our mouse again, so we can move the mouse outside. So here I say capture. You can see my mouse cursor is inside the guest operating systems, but it cannot move outside. Okay. If I click on the right control, now you can see my mouse is, I regain my mouse again. Okay. Okay, that's it. Just remember the right control button key. Okay. Continue. All right. So it's going to give us some setup first before we actually do the installation. We want to specify the date, time. In this case, the time zone. So we're going to click on that, and here it's the time zone is New York City, right? So I'm going to do Central, which is Chicago. Okay, so that's Central, which is Minnesota, also Central. I can pick AM, PM instead of 24-hour. Click OK. And what I want to do is I want to specify the what kind of software I want to install. I want to have the graphical interface. The default is the minimal install. That means it's going to give you only command line. So when you boot into CentOS, it's only going to give you command line, right? So we want graphical interface. So we can click on that. So I'm going to say server with GUI, okay? And I'm going to do say, we actually going to do GNOME desktop. This is better. So we're going to pick GNOME desktop. And we click done, which is on the top. Okay, now we have to okay, so now it's running the check. Make sure we can get those software packages. Next, we're gonna specify where to put to install the operating systems. So remember, we create a hard disk for our virtual machine. Now we wanna use that now. Okay, so this is the 10 gigabyte hard disk that we create in the virtual machine. Now we want to specify this is where we want it to go to. Okay, so we select the hard disk. We press done. Okay, so I think we are done. Now we can just click on begin installation, and we can create a root user password and user creation in the user account. So in this case, I'm going to create a root password. You can pick any password you want as long as you remember. The password has to match. So I click done. They did not match. So I mistyped something. Let's try again. Did not match. Try again. It matched. Okay. So now we create a user. I'm gonna give my name. So the full name is Cheng Tao and the username is C Tao. And default required password to use this account. So when the machine boots into this into the GUI, it's gonna ask for username and password, right? That's what we want. So let's provide a password. Okay, let's see. Hopefully they match. Again, they did not match. My password must be very complicated or something. Again, they did not match. Well, let's try again. See, try again. Okay, now a match. Click done, and now we just wait for the installation to complete. So you can see down on the bottom is the status. It's telling you what it's doing. So now we just wait, and then once it's done, we want to shut down the machine, and then we can boot the machine again, so that we can see what it looks like. Okay, finally it's done. It's complete. That's a long wait. Now it takes about close to 30 minutes to install the CentOS 7. So now let's reboot. Okay, so now we're going to choose the first option. Well, it does it for us automatically if you don't make a choice. So now you can see the graphical interface is loading. Because this is running inside a virtual machine, it's a bit slower than if you were to run it on hardware. Okay. So license agreement, you need to select that and say accept and click done. Okay, we don't need, I don't know, you need anything. Okay, let's just pick that. Okay, that's fine. Maybe we should turn it on. Okay, now we're done. Okay, so we have network. So we say finish configuration. Okay, so now it presents, I'm the only user, so it presents my name there. So I'm going to enter my password and sign in. Again, everything will be much faster if you run it on top of your computer. Here we're running inside a virtual machine. That means that everything that it does has to go through the software, then to the machine. Right? There's one level of indirect. Right now our screen is very small. Yeah, let's pick a language. Okay. Typing English US. Privacy, location service. Okay, we just pick the default. We don't need that, so I'm just gonna go skip. I don't need to connect to my Google account or anything like that. If you wanted to, for example, access your email, things like that, maybe you wanna choose Google. So we are ready to go. Okay, so our screen right now is very tiny. It gives you some tutorials on how to do things. We're just gonna close that. You can see it gives us a desktop. You want to make it bigger. This desktop is too small. Okay, you're gonna go to System Tools and goes to Settings. Every Linux distribution have different way of organizing everything. Okay, so this is CentOS, but GNOME is a desktop that looks very familiar. If you do it on Ubuntu, it will be similar to you. Now let's go to Display. Let me see. Okay, so we go to display now. Let's change the resolution. Let's change it to something bigger. Okay. I think it went to a different screen. So let's keep the setting. So now you can see that it's much bigger than before. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that's all I'm going to show you for now. So that's how you install CentOS. Okay, so now let's get out of here and let's power it off, shut down, and say power off. And we need to provide a password to shut it down. So this is going to be the root password. Only the root user has the power to shut down the machine. So on different distribution, the Ubuntu, the user can shut down the machine. Alright, so that is how we install CentOS 7 on VirtualBox. The installation process is exactly the same on Hyper-V, except the way we create the virtual machine is just different by a few steps. So that's it.